Hello, welcome to another Nearmap Navigate webinar. And in our series today, we are talking to a fantastic technology company, Archistar, and I've got Rob Curry. Rob, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're delighted. Now, I believe you are the co-founder and the brains of the operation. Is that right?
I'm definitely the co-founder. Not sure about the brains, but yeah, definitely the co-founder.
In a nutshell, you guys help people find feasible sites for development, and your products work with Nearmap because Nearmap provides that context of real-world imagery that supports the analysis of, where's a good place to build. Have I got it right?
Yeah, that's correct. And the interesting thing is that Nearmap was our first partner that we had on the platform. So Nearmap's been a great supporter of Archistar right from the start a few years ago.
We love it. We love good technology companies that work together. That's got to be golden. Now, tell me a little bit about your platform and how we fit together.
Yeah, so basically, our platform is really good for helping people find sites, assess sites, also looking to do architectural designs on a site, and then also testing those designs for compliance with local government. So basically, our platform does those four things. And where Nearmap comes in is because, let's say, for example, someone's on our platform and they find a really good development site. What quite often happens is that they'll do all this analysis on the site, but then when they actually go and see what the site's all about, someone's already knocked it down and started building on there. So Nearmap saves a lot of time in this early feasibility stage because as soon as they find a site that looks good, they can turn on the Nearmap button, see the most recent aerial image, which is very current, and then to work out if it's still a good site or not, to look at doing more due diligence on. So it saves a lot of time. And especially in this period right now, it's very helpful because quite often it's difficult to get out to sites. So to be able to do that from your desktop or your phone is a lot easier.
So it's like a desktop sanity check after you've
That's
looked through all
correct.
the paperwork. I believe you guys bring in all of that, the council data and all the other bits and pieces around the numbers, I guess, that would make a site useful and worth pursuing in terms of the development.
Yeah, that's right. So we bring in all the council data. So that's been about 80,000 man hours from our team collating all that information together. It's a big effort. And then we also bring in a lot of market activity data. So showing you what's for sale and what's recently sold in that area. So you can estimate for the pricing and also the construction cost data. So you can work out how much you'll make, how much it will cost you to build, what's your profitability. And then, yeah, you can turn on Nearmap to see if that site's a viable site or not to further pursue.
See if it's all true.
Yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Would you like to let us have a look then? I think you've got a
Yeah,
demo
we'll
for
load
us.
up a demo. So I'll just pull out my screen here. Okay.
It is good fun for us at Nearmap to see our imagery in place with other people's products.
Yeah, and we've got a few good examples here of how it works really well. So the first way that people use our system is to look for sites that are underdeveloped. So what they'll do is click on the filter button, and then they'll see all these different sites pop up. So let's say, for example, you want to do a mixed use site this is in Piedmont, just right next to Sydney. And then they want to look at a larger site. So they want to do a mixed use on a large site. So we can see here, there's only a short list of 3 that are in Piedmont that are mixed use sites and also large. So if we turn Nearmap on from here, so I'll just turn these off and we go into add-ons and turn on Nearmap. We can actually see the latest aerial imagery come on in real time. And you can see here, this one's actually an old council shipping yard. So it was recently sold a few months ago by the local government to a developer for development. And so just having the Nearmap on that straight away shows you that that's an undeveloped site and one that we can look at.
And if you turn the Nearmap layer off, this is a site that's indicated in a pink or a red as being ripe for development.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's basically, it meets all the criteria that we're looking for. And obviously developers sometimes have even more criteria, which they could use our system for, but that's one way they can find sites where they look for the type of development they want to do and the size and some other restrictions as well.
So like height, for example.
Yeah, minimum building height and things like that. So if we pick up this particular site now, you can see it's actually quite an attractive site. You've got a maximum building height of 27 meters. That's a fair, decent sized building you can put on there. And it's mixed use as well. So that means that you can put, maybe retail on the ground floor or commercial and then residential above it.
How up to date are the council details that you have access to?
Oh, they're very up to date. So we've got a team of 10 people that do nothing else except just capture data and keep this all up to date. So yeah, we put a lot of time and effort and resources into making sure it's all updated. Where possible,
I
we
think
do
we're
a
very
digital update.
like-minded.
Yeah, I mean, again, with your business, you're fanatical about keeping the data up to date. So we're the same because a lot of people rely on our platform to make important decisions. So we take that obligation seriously and make sure that the data's right up to date.
Tell me a little bit about people who use you. I know we're in the middle of your demo, but I mean, is it big end of town, smaller developers? Do you
Yeah,
have a mixture?
it's a real interesting range. So we've got anywhere from the very biggest developers are using the platform. So you've got your Mervacs and your Stocklands and people like that who are on the platform. But then you've also got these really small developers. I'm not sure where people are watching this from, but in Western Sydney, where I was brought up, everyone wants to be a property developer. So
Yeah.
everyone's always talking to their neighbours about getting together and doing a project. So basically, we have a lot of individuals and really small developers who may have a full-time job during the day, but they look at development sites at night and on weekends. And sometimes their usage is almost as high as the big corporates because they're so hungry and looking through so many different sites. So yeah, it's really interesting the mix of users that use a platform.
Well, I guess the job is still pretty much the same whether you're a big end or small end, right? You need to be exhaustive in your search for the right place.
Totally. And like when we speak to developers, most of the time you need to go through about 60 sites to find one good one. So if you're able to click on our map, click on a few sites, turn on the Nearmap layer, see what's happening, that's going to save you a lot of time. There's 59, non-feasible ones to get to the one, that 60th one that really makes a difference and keeps the wheels turning around.
So what would you like to show us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, so I
This one
thought
that
it'd be
you've got the
good
PIM on.
to load up a design.
Yes.
So
Oh, great.
yeah, we'll load up the building generator. We'll do apartments for now. And if we pull up this first design that's come up, basically you can see here we've got the building massing. So you've got your 3 buildings. And then we can turn on a few different analytics. So the first thing we can do is look at the building mix. So this shows the breakup of all the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments in there, which is really nice to know what the breakup is there. We've gone for a predominantly 1 and 2 bedroom design with this particular model.
Now,
And
if
then
I
we've
could
also,
be clear, this is just being built on the fly. This is modeling on the fly. This isn't a model that you or someone else has proposed earlier that it's calling up from
no, these are all real
a
time.
database.
Yeah,
So
these are all real
this is
time. So,
the
yep,
system.
this is the system. It's all real time design. So basically you can click on any block of land and do this exact same exercise. Yeah, which we will do. We'll do another one as well after this as well. But yeah, like it can show you, the car park down the bottom, which is always nice to know. Developers are very keen to understand what the car park's going to be because that can make or break the feasibility. Then there's also a sunlight analysis. So you can see, a beautiful sunlight, like a sunlight graph here of all the different, how much sunlight each one gets. So the darker the shade of yellow or orange, the more sunlight each apartment gets. And then the ground shadows is also quite an interesting one as well. So people like to see, how the shadows work across neighboring buildings. So that's very helpful when you're doing government compliance documents. And the final one is cross ventilation. So this shows you here which apartments are cross ventilated, so they get fresh air all the way through the apartment. So that's how that works. It's great to show the Nearmap imagery underneath it as well, so you always get to see what's happening.
That's
so you
amazing.
can see, yeah, around it you've got these big kind of industrial and kind of warehouse things, but it's a great spot because you've got a beautiful park just across the road from you, and you're right next to
I'm
the
sold.
harbour. Yeah, it's a cracking location.
Can you
Yeah.
output your design from here? So you take the imagery that's shown and then the model. Would you be able to say print or send this as a proposal to someone?
Yeah, so basically that model that we produce, you can download that as either a PDF file into a nice little report, or alternatively, you can download that into like your Autodesk or Revit or Rhino, depending on whatever kind of application people are using. They can take that 3D model we built, and their architect can kind of tweak it further if they want to make more changes.
This is all like us, this is all delivered through the cloud, isn't it? This is just log onto your web browser, get into
Yeah,
your
it's all
account,
web-based,
start the
which is really
system.
helpful. Yeah. And then the other thing people like to do on the system just quickly is to look at comparable activity in the area. So they might click on our CoreLogic tab and they'll see all these dots on the map. And these are showing all properties that are for sale or rent in the area. So, you've got all these different properties that come up and you can see what they're selling for, what they're renting for. And so that's really helpful to see what the market activity is in that particular area.
That's interesting. Would you be able to click on one of those and then see what it looks like in real life via the Nearmap layer as well?
Yeah, so basically from here you could turn the Nearmap layer back on and see what's actually there as well. So because
Okay.
it's really important when you're looking at comparable sales to understand what you're looking at. Because if it's an old 2-bedroom apartment, they might be selling for 20 or 30% less than a brand new apartment, which you want to compare against. So
Yeah.
it's really
Look, I don't
helpful
know
to have
about
that.
you. I've developed
Yeah.
a very healthy mistrust of real estate agent photography.
Mm.
So I do like the idea of being able to easily see exactly what a building looks like.
Yeah, everything looks great on the property portals, don't they? On the
Ah,
listing page. Yeah,
yeah.
they're really good at Photoshop. So yeah, it's really important to do your own due diligence and to look at tools like Nearmap and taking a look at that particular site to see what's really there.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's helpful. And then I thought we may go to a second site as well in Western Sydney, in Ashfield. So if we just go back to this search bar and we go to Ashfield.
It's also nice to see demonstrations that aren't right into the CBD, which is one of the probably the most developed places you can get. And this is areas where people do go hunting,
Yeah, well, I think if you
hunting
look
for
at
the
the
property.
CBD, it's pretty, like you said, it's pretty developed. So to get any kind of opportunities in the CBD, you've normally either got to knock down an existing tower, which is a really expensive exercise, and not easy to make feasible because most of the property is fully developed. So or you have to consolidate a few sites. So you might have to put 2 or 3 sites together and then
Mm.
really increase the height there. So yeah, it's not easy to get things approved in the CBD, but out west, there's a huge amount of opportunity still to work through.
What
So
would be the
this is
workflow for
yeah,
someone? I'm so sorry.
that's okay. You go
well,
for it. That's fine.
well, I'm curious about the workflow in say if you're a larger or a mid to large sized development farm, the workflow that this would be taking place in. So you mentioned that the Nearmap layer means you don't have to go out to site. So we're happy about that because we always love saving that time. Uh, but I'm wondering how many feasible sites you can find and what happens next. Is this a case where somebody might have a quota to fulfill, a number of sites to find?
Yeah, generally speaking, most developers have an allocated budget. So they've got a certain amount of cash reserves and also lending facilities with different lenders. So they'll say, well, okay, this year we can invest $5 million or $100 million or $1 billion, depending on the size of the developer. But that's how much capital allocation we have for projects. And so for them, that might, like if you've got a $5 million budget, that might be 5 $1 million small sites, or it might be one bigger site at $5 million to do it. So developers will have, and every developer kind of knows their range and what their sweet spot is. So what they'll do is they'll say, okay, well, great, this year I want to do 5 developments, $1 million each. That's a pretty small development though. But yeah, I don't know what you could do in Sydney for $1 million.
Not in Sydney.
No, you'd be lucky to get the land itself just for $1 million.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, so basically, but that's what you do. So they'd have a certain quota of what they want to do. And the great thing
Hey,
with Archistar and Nearmap combined is that your developers tell us it triples their productivity. So they're able to look at 3 times the amount of sites in the same amount of time, which is really helpful.
wow, that is a huge bonus.
Mm.
One of the things it's interesting, we're laughing about Sydney because I laugh because that's where I'm based. But of course, this product's national, right?
Yeah, it's national and soon to be in the US and UK as well. So yeah, we're
That's exciting.
yeah, it's a pretty fast expansion path for us, which is really exciting.
It's a fantastic idea to be able to take this technology into different areas. Um, I'm just curious now about Ashfield, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Ashfield's a great one. So basically what's happened in Ashfield is that this is, we'll turn on the Nearmap layer again so we can see what's going on here.
And
But
are we
essentially,
looking at
yeah.
rentals as well? Rentals and
Yeah, we're
purchases
looking at
here?
rentals and purchases. But I wanted to turn on the Nearmap just firstly to show the position of this particular site. So this is on the railway track. And all around the railway track, there's all these B4 sites. And so we turn on the layers here and turn the zoning on. So you can see all of these ones are in this particular color are B4 mixed use. And that's a really good zone in Sydney and in New South Wales, because basically it means you can have, yeah, like, retail on the ground floor and commercial or, residential above it. So to find like sites that are completely underdeveloped in the B4 zone are quite valuable. So we've got these three here. And when we turn on the Nearmap again, just to show what it looks like. So you can see these three that I've picked, they're just three individual homes, in a prime spot right next to the train station. So it's ripe for development. And then if we look at the site details for that particular one, we go back and check out the site details. We can see that it's a B4 zone and it's got a 10-meter building height. So it's going to be a smaller development. You're probably looking at 3 stories max. But it's great because, you can have a look at the current, some of the current photo images from the listings. You can see they've got like a small little a 2-story one on there at the moment. So it's a great opportunity to potentially, buy that one out and put an extra story on and get a bit more yield out of the site. So
could you have
yeah.
done any of this kind of, because you can look at the imagery and see what's next to it. I guess you can also check and see if it's living, if this would be developing next to an eyesore or a substation or anything else that might be slightly less desirable. You wouldn't have been able to do that before, would you, with satellite
No,
or
unless you
something like
drive
that?
out onto the site, and
Yeah.
like we said, like if you're looking at 60 sites before you find one, that's a lot of driving.
Yeah.
That's that's a lot of pain. So much easier just to click up a few buttons and sort all that online before you go and do that heavy lifting and a lot of spending time on
Yeah.
the road. Yeah. Yeah, so I thought we could do just a nice, quick, easy design on this one as well. So this is going to be another small apartment design. So if we take a look here, I'm going to sort it by gross floor area. So we get the most gross floor area up front. So you can see here we've got a few different designs options. So this is our first one that comes up. A nice little 3-story on an angle, which is interesting, different kind of design. And this one's got larger apartments. So this is a 2-story, but it's taking up more of the site, and it's got larger apartments as well. So I thought that was interesting to show because, yeah, like it's kind of interesting how you can approach the same problem from two different angles. You can get a similar amount of area, but this has only got 8 dwellings, whereas the other one had 12 dwellings. So to be able to develop it a way up, do I do smaller apartments and a higher one, or a lower footprint but bigger apartments and more premium and boutique? So it's really cool to see that. Yeah, and then you can run
The
feasibility studies
models.
as well.
Yeah, well, I was just wondering about this. I think the models probably, we're not talking architectural models here. There's obviously all of that work to go, but the
Yeah,
purpose of them is to give you an idea of what's possible, and then I think to fiddle with the combinations and see what the economic kind of
totally.
impact could be.
Yeah, that's the idea of it. It's
Okay.
just like playing with a few designs to start with, and then you'd pick one that you're kind of happy with. Then you'd work with your architect and town planner, etc., to kind of flesh out the final design. But you can even run a feasibility with a few button clicks. So if you just put in some rough numbers about what these might sell for in different markets. This has got 2 1-bedrooms and 6 3-bedrooms. So it's a very premium kind of look and feel. And I'm just going to put some rough numbers in here, but obviously the market changes all the time. But yeah, if you looked at this in terms of having 2 1-bedrooms at 500,000 and 6 3-bedrooms at $1 million, and you work your way down. So we load in all the cost prices of how much it would cost to build in that area. Extract a few costs here as well. So yeah, basically like at that kind of really expensive build price, almost $5,000 a square meter, the project wouldn't be viable. Like you have to buy the land for 142,000 to make it work. But if you're able to build it for a lot less expensive, so if we brought down the cost per square meter to $3,500, then you're looking at paying potentially 1.5 million for that, for those 3 blocks of land together, which might be closer to being something a bit more feasible to get a 20% margin. So yeah, it's really interesting how just playing with the numbers really quickly in real time adjust things. But before this platform came along, it'd take developers hours, even days, to kind of get all this data in one spot and to work through these scenarios.
It's incredible. I really enjoy looking at this. I really enjoy looking at Ashfield, and I'm kind of curious how these suburbs have not been mined more thoroughly. Not that I'm suggesting we should, but
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's pretty fun. Like once people get into it, we see like a lot of usage on the platform. So people do dozens, even hundreds a day when they're really active on the platform looking for sites, because it's just so easy and quick to run through a lot of scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about when you turn the imagery layer on. What are the kind of gotchas that might be revealed?
Yeah, so what normally happens is a couple of things. The first thing is that you might think it's a good site, but it's already been knocked down and someone's starting to build. So that's one thing that's always quite frustrating. The other thing is also looking at the surrounding buildings as well. So because it might look like a good site, but there's a big power station next door, or yeah, you might be like right in the middle of an industrial complex where it just wouldn't make sense to do a residential development. So it's really important to look at the surrounding buildings and what's kind of around and how new or old they are, so you get a feel for what's kind of happening in the area. So they're the key kind of things people look out for when they look at the aerial imagery.
And I'm assuming that if the buildings nearby are all sort of 2-bedroom arrangements, then you probably want to stay in that sort of vibe, just because of that mix of community that you're going to get out of that street.
Yeah, totally. Because if all the neighbors have got 2 and 3 bedroom larger apartments, and you're proposed to build 100 studios for student accommodation, you may get some objections from the local residents and also your local government authority. So we always want to make sure that you're kind of building something that's in character with the area.
It's fantastic. Now, you can do some pretty cool things with this platform as well, can't you? I'm thinking about some of the examples you guys have put out on social media recently, and particularly one involving a stadium. So I might just ask you if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so as you know, there's been all this all this big talk about the virus, and how we may need a lot more hospital beds than are currently available. So we did a little project, just a quick side project on Archistar to say, how could you convert a stadium into hospital beds if you really needed a lot of beds all at the same time? So I'll pull up that on this screen here and show you how that all looks. We put together a little short video how it works.
Now, is
So
this
this is
using the
a
same
sports
platform?
stadium. Yeah, this is the sports stadium. This is in Homebush in Western Sydney. And so essentially we're kind of built on all this green area I think it's a hockey stadium, this one.
I love how you're taking the sports stadium and calling it feasible land for this
Yeah,
exercise.
there you go. Well, I suppose in coronavirus, anything's possible, isn't it?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So we're just editing some of the settings here, and then you'll start to see it lay out like a grid matrix for hospital beds, which is interesting. So there you go. You've got quite a nice look here. Like
So you
quite an
can play.
efficient
You can play
layout.
with this tool.
Yeah, you can play. Like there's all different types of layouts that you could do depending on how much access you need to each one. Yeah, it's quite interesting how many different permutations and combinations there are of laying out, 300 plus beds in a sporting stadium area.
Amazing. Oh well, I hope it never gets to that.
Yeah,
But it is
and
an
it looks
interesting
like we're
demo.
doing okay. It looks like we won't need to at this stage. So which is really nice to know. But yeah, it's
What's
kind
your
of cool to see how the
take from the?
technology can be done.
Sorry, what's your take from the industry at the moment? How do you think our construction companies and development companies are faring?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting. We're getting some mixed reactions. So there's a lot of developers that are still quite hungry to keep going because a lot of developers look 2 and 3 years ahead, because by the time you do the feasibility on a project, you buy the site, you get council or local government approval, you knock it down, you build, then you sell. That could be a 2 to 3 year project, even 4 year project. So most developers are looking 2, 3, 4 years into the future to look to assess what the demand's going to be like in an area, and what the supply is going to be like, and how feasible a project will be. So most of the developers that we're working with are still kicking along and still looking for sites. Obviously, they're going to be a bit more prudent about which sites they go for, which they need to be. But yeah, there's still a lot of good demand. We did a survey. We had, I think, 300, 400 responses come back saying that people are still very keen to look for sites. And if you think about it, if you're a developer, that's your business. Like, your business is finding sites and developing them and delivering product to the market. So it's not like you can just kind of say, okay, it's a tough time, it's going to stop developing now. Like, you've got to keep the machine going. So that's what we're kind of seeing in the market. With the builders, we're finding that they've got projects on at the moment. There is a bit of uncertainty in the next 6, 12 months following that, once these current projects finish, about what's coming next. But hopefully with all the economic stimulus, the projects will, the future forward project queue will fill up again, so that they've got projects to finish once these current ones are done.
Yeah, we hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good to see the activity continue through this period. I'm curious just if the usage had any sort of change that you are aware of, any blips, because I imagine that people were actually probably using it a little bit more, that they might be home and using all the tools that are easier to access.
Yeah, we're seeing pretty solid growth in actual usage through this period as well. So I think you're right. Like, it was surprising to us to see the growth, start to pick up a bit through this period. But the challenge is that I think people are stuck at home. So when you're stuck at home, you've got to do something. So a lot of people, this is their, especially the people that are doing this as a part-time thing. Like, they actually find there's more time to get in there and do more assessments. So yeah, it's really an interesting time, and I hope that it all kind of gets back to normal as soon as possible, so everyone can keep going along. But it's been quite interesting to see how the behaviors kind of change in the last few months.
Yeah, I think we've proven value of cloud delivery, haven't we?
Yeah, it's powerful. So, and
Mm.
like doing Zoom meetings and things like that, like, it's all, yeah, the workplace has really changed how things are done going forward.
It's awesome. Hey, Rob, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and with us, and sharing this fantastic platform and the way you use Nearmap in it. I found it very inspirational, and I kind of feel like looking at my local area with new eyes.
Yeah, it's interesting how it can change your perspective once you have a platform. And we really appreciate the opportunity to come on the webinar with you, and thanks for supporting us all the way through as well.
No, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you very much, Rob.
Okay, see you soon.
See you.